Syria is going through the biggest onslaught after the ouster of Alawite leader Bashar al-Assad. The country continues to be roiled by sectarian violence in the areas dominated by the country's Alawite minority. A battle is raging between the Syrian forces and al-Assad loyalists in northwestern Syria, where over 1,000 people were killed so far. The Syrian regime has claimed full control of the city centers of Latakia, Banias, Jableh and Tartus, where heavy clashes are taking place since Thursday. In a video posted on social media, several dead bodies were seen on the road in Syria's Latakia region. Authorities are blaming unruly armed militias for the summary executions in villages and towns dominated by the Alawite minority. The fight began when government forces tried to detain a wanted person near the coastal city of Jableh and were ambushed by Assad loyalists. Syria's Alawite minority is concentrated in the country's coastal region, where ousted leader Bashar al-Assad continues to maintain influence. Damascus was quick to send reinforcements to the coastal cities of Latakia and Tartus and nearby villages.
Forces of the Ministry of Defense achieved rapid field progress, re-establishing control over the areas that witnessed treacherous attacks against general security personnel. We carried out decisive containment operations, tightening the noose around the remaining elements of officers and remnants of the former regime.
Syria's de facto leader Ahmed al-Sharaa has called on Assad loyalists to lay down their arms before it's too late and called on people to maintain national unity and civil peace in the country.
What is happening in the country is a challenge and is expected. We must maintain national unity and civil peace in the country as much as we can.
Despite the assurance from the interim leader, thousands of people affected by violence gathered outside Russian-operated military base. People raised slogans demanding protection from Russia. Meanwhile, officials from Syria's neighboring country held a meeting in Jordan. Officials from Iraq, Lebanon, Turkey and Jordan discussed cooperation on security challenges. The Jordanian Foreign Ministry confirmed in a statement that the meeting focused on preserving Syria's unity and stability. Humanitarian agencies are raising concerns of a sharp increase in violence. United Nations Special Envoy for Syria, Geir Pedersen, says, and I quote, he is deeply alarmed by reports of clashes and civilian killings in coastal areas. The International Committee of the Red Cross says first responders and humanitarian workers must be allowed safe access in Latakia and Tartus. The situation has also drawn international condemnation. The European Union strongly condemned the recent attacks, reportedly by pro-Assad supporters on interim government forces. It called on external actors to fully respect the sovereignty, unity and territorial integrity of Syria. Kuwait and Bahrain also condemned the crimes committed by outlawed groups and vowed support for Syria's interim government. Jordan is hosting a meeting of Syria and its neighbors to discuss security, reconstruction and refugees. Chris Doyle is a director of Council for Arab-British Understanding and the current lead spokesperson for the Council. Mr. Doyle is now joining us live from London. Welcome to the program, Mr. Doyle. First of all, in your view, how will Syria get rid of Assad's confidants, friends, and those who supported him?
Listen, this is an extremely delicate and fragile transition. And given the nature of Assad's rule over 50 years, the family that is, it's not surprising to see these sorts of tensions. But I think one should, a note of caution here. It is not a simple binary conflict between, on the one hand, the new Syrian caretaker authorities and Assad loyalists, because the new authorities are also very sectarian. They've also made their own mistakes in all of this. They haven't reached out to all of Syria's communities. There is no transitional justice mechanism where people can try to get justice for all the crimes that are being committed. And the Alawite communities from which the Assads came feel under threat generally. whether they are pro-Assad or not pro-Assad at all. So it's somewhat more complicated than that. There is fault on all sorts of different levels, but it points to this very tenuous situation. There is no money, no economy. People are very frustrated. They're nervous. And without getting a grip on that transition process, we are going to see more of this. At the moment, it is largely clashes in those coastal areas where the Alawites predominate, but there are other communities who are also fearful as well within Syria. And that is why a far more inclusive approach to allow others inside the tent is absolutely vital. What I think we need to focus on right now is to find some sort of local agreements to calm this down. I think that our community leaders will have enough influence. There needs to be a proper independent investigation into what's going on, but also constructive international assistance here to increase and empower a proper UN, perhaps Arab League, media monitoring mission. So that,
Mr. Doyle, let me just come in there because you've raised a very important point. In your view, and in brief, who or what can help the new government of Syria end the stalemate with the Alawites and also stop the bloodshed?
Well, first of all, the Syrian caretaker authorities itself, by opening out and including more groups, will empower it. One of the reasons that we're seeing all these bloody events is that there is no money for the national army and its associated security services. So a lot of thugs have gone to the coast who are therefore also running up against those loyalists, yes, for Assad loyalists and others. And the caretaker authorities have rather made some of the mistakes we saw in Iraq, where the army is actually seen sectarian itself, not inclusive of all communities. So that needs to change. But also internationally, I think local actors, Arab states, could be involved in trying to beef up a proper international monitoring mechanism here, get to some local security deals, and then have some form of peacekeeping force on the ground to try to keep order. But it will need a transitional justice mechanism because major crimes against humanity were committed. A lot of Syrians want to see some form of justice for that, to tell their stories. This is absolutely essential. And of course, there are within, those coastal regions in the hills above them, members of the Assad regime who committed some of those crimes, and they need to be brought to justice.
Okay. Mr. Chris Doyle, good to see you. Thank you very much for your insights and for talking to us today. Thank you.